rebuilding. The catastrophic failure, a new start. Physically, mentally, our careers, our businesses. Step back, first step, next step. The driver in me just wants to get it done tomorrow. We'll do this, do that, let's move this, where are we at with this? You build some confidence, build some self-esteem, start to feel better about yourself. The Silverback Blueprint Podcast, a show for men over 40 who focus on getting stronger, staying motivated, building discipline, creating a community, and becoming truly happy. Hey guys, and welcome to episode 29 of the Silverback Blueprint Podcast. Today I want to talk about something really cool that we do or I work on that I find I get tremendous energy from and motivation from, and it's called visualization. In my morning rituals, one of the ones that I find does the most for me once I get past a little bit of just some self-talk and my affirmation is the exercise of visualization. And you can use it in different ways. You can visualize yourself. We talked a bit earlier about the perfect day. What would that look like for you? And you know, building that reverse engineering and stuff like that. Visualize cool things that excite you, things that you either want to be, do, or have, as we like to say. It could be a hobby, could be part of your career, your business, but something that's going to just allow you to just see some different ways of doing it. So for me, with Hostile Gear, and the Silverback Blueprint program, I'll visualize different things, and I like to set a 10, 15-minute time limit on it. So I use a timer off my iPhone. You owe me $100 for saying that. And then I'll either, piece of paper, write some stuff down, create some stuff, kind of, do that mental vision where I think something would look like or what it would feel like. But my favorite way is using the interwebs, going on a Google search, and I'll look at, there's 2 or 3 reoccurring things that I like to look at. And one of them is just other gyms, what other facilities look like, what they're doing, what they're focusing on, just different layouts, ideas. I just love it. I like seeing what's out there, and I think it's really sharp. The other thing I like to look at is, with the Hostile Gear, the brand, other clothing apparel companies out there, in powerlifting, in fitness, or just period, what they're doing and stuff, and see come up with ideas and concepts, and that looks really sharp. What would that look if we did something like that? Super cool. And then after my whole European vacation thing, I find myself a little bit now looking more at really cool vacation spots. The serenity of a bright blue water and sand and stuff. I never thought I would be into, but having seen that and felt that, I really realize that that's something that's really important for me now. And I talk about it all the time. I go back to Barcelona tomorrow if I could. You can stay right downtown Barcelona. Within 5 to 10 minutes, you're either on the beach or you're in a different, small village. It's still a lot of city, so you can still do city stuff. So you can be in the action, or you can be by the ocean, or you can be super tranquil and quiet and meditative. So I think it's super cool. And you know what? I'm sure I could do that in Ottawa too, maybe to a different extent, but just that Barcelona just did something to me and stuff. And the Greek islands were very similar for me as well. It's not helping my grammar, but at the end of the day, in the islands, I loved it. I love being on the water, being near the water, but I like the little villages and internet. Their internet was phenomenal. So you can actually, run a business. And I'm like, already thinking, how could I go and spend, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks in the winter, in one of those places, really taking in that quality of life and that part of the world, but yet still work on the things that I need to work on, right? I do a lot of stuff behind the scenes, online, podcasting. Well, you don't need to be in a physical specific spot for a lot of these things. They can be done with a little bit of equipment, a laptop, and some internet. You can do a tremendous amount of these things overall. So really starting to shift my mindset and how that works, right? So, it's not the kind of thing where I would disappear for 6 weeks and just do nothing. I get pretty bored, but get out there and sort of have some of that lifestyle life, I guess, for a better word, lack of a better word, right? Where you sit out and, get out on the beach in the mornings, and then you work on stuff for a couple hours, and then, take in the nature and just, just really experience some different things and different cultures and stuff. So, that's one of the things I've been noticing. I've been doing a little bit more on my visualization stuff. When going back to looking at, other gyms and other apparel lines and stuff, what's really important too is that, it's not to copy what anyone's doing. It's not to, steal ideas, but it's to get inspired and get motivated and see a cool thing that I might not have thought of, and sit there and say, hey, what if we did it this way? And what if we took that concept and we threw that with this? It just opens up possibilities, right? And if you see what's possible, you can get excited about what you can do as well, right? And sometimes we put limitations on ourselves, and we think this is as far as we can go. Or we've been so focused on getting to a point A that we don't realize that once we're there, it opens us up for another area or another level, that kind of thing. So, and that can be done personally, right? It doesn't have to be done on fitness stuff. If you're into guitars, you can sit there and say, wow, I'd love to go to this guitar manufacturer that's famous, Fender or whatever, or find a thing that you're really into and visualize that. Or if you're making some new changes into your life and you're rebuilding things, well, you visualize what a perfect weekend would look like once you're 20 pounds lighter and fitter and stronger, and mentally you're in a better place, you're happier. Well, what would that look like? Where would you go? Who would you go with, right? If money wasn't an object, if time wasn't a concern, what would that look like? Right? And then turn around and sit there and say, hey, you know what? I want to move towards that. I want to take all the planning I've been doing and all the changes, and all of a sudden now you have a little more of a redirection, a course correction and stuff, right? That to me is super powerful, right? And you might see something and find something you never, ever fucking thought that you would do, and you see it and all of a sudden something clicks for you, right? And the other thing that's really powerful is when you see something someone else is doing, there's like a thing that happens in your head where you realize that if someone can do it, someone else can do it, I can do it. It gives you permission. It opens that up. We hear a lot of motivational speakers talk about, I think it's Roger Maris, who was the first man to break the 4-minute mile. Up until then, I think this happened in the late 60s, early 70s. Up until then, the experts, no one will ever break it. It's impossible and stuff like that. This guy comes along, fucking breaks it. And since then, something like 10,000 people have broken a 4-minute mile. High schoolers have broken the 4-minute mile. In powerlifting, it seems like everybody and their fucking dog is benching 400 and 500 pounds now, whereas 10, 15 years ago, if you benched 400 or 500 pounds, you were like, oh my God, I didn't think that was possible. Now we see 6, 7, high, mid to high 7 raw benches and stuff. And forget what they're taking, what they're doing. I don't give a fuck about that. There's a lot of guys that take a lot of shit and stuff that'll never accomplish anything, when it comes to shit like drugs and stuff like that. That's often an excuse. But at the end of the day, I think a big part of it, right, is an example here where visualization works, is there's a lot more access to information because of the internet, right? The first 10, 15 years when I was benching, there was no internet, right? So I would read every magazine that came out. I remember having a membership to Powerlifter Video magazine that used to cost $75 US to get this fucking VHS thing in. And when it came in, it was like gold. A buddy and I used to share the subscription. And whenever it came in, we were just like, all right, whose house? And we're going to do it. And you know what? We'd sit there and we'd watch it and we'd make notes and we'd watch it again and that kind of thing. And then next thing you know, in our training, we're changing this, we're changing that because we just saw this guy do that. It was crazy exciting. And really, it was a form of visualization, right? It was taking some information, seeing what's out there, reaffirming maybe some things you were doing, sparking an idea that you never even thought of, and then taking that and then running with it and stuff. Now, you type in better bench press on YouTube and there's a million videos and stuff. And a lot of them is good. There's a lot of shit and garbage like anything in life, right? But the basics on bench, the information on it is so readily available. That's why we're seeing better benches. That's why we're seeing faster runners. That's why we're seeing people achieving success in whatever niche that they're into, is because they can go out there and find other people doing it and find information on it, right? Again, it's even affects who you hang out with and where you hang out with, right? You can tell a lot by a person. If you take their phone and you open up that home screen where you have all the initial apps, you can tell a lot about that person and what they're into and what's important to them. They may think they're a certain way, but you look at that first page on the iPhone and you will see a lot more in depth what that person's all about and stuff, right? And again, that's really it is, right? Where we hang out. So where we hang out in our phone, what are the apps we go to? What are the email subscriptions, newsletter subscriptions we subscribe to? What are the podcasts we listen to? All those things are really, in essence, where you're hanging out, the mental hangout, right? Super important. I know I just got rid of the movie channels off our cable package, and you know what? I'm watching less movies. Right? I love movies, but I'd find myself watching, hey, let's watch this one again. I saw it last week, right? You're just keeping yourself busy. So, I got rid of some of that stuff, and all of a sudden productivity kicks up. I know guys with 100 games on their phone, right? I have 2 or 3, and usually it's just to break some monotony and give my brain a bit of a break or something to do while I'm on the throne, and then, on to the next thing. But when I had too many games, I remember catching myself saying, hey, I'll just do a round of every game. Well, that would be an hour. And I'm like, that's crazy. I kept my top 3, got rid of the rest, right? So again, what's occupying my mind? And that mind is part of that real estate about, where we hang out, but then also how and what we're visualizing. So again, super powerful overall. And if you haven't done it, again, I always recommend the morning ritual, but spend some time, especially if you find that, you're trying to achieve something and you're stuck in a rut, you've got some frustration going on. Hey, I'm not getting where I want to get and stuff like that. Start incorporating that visualization and just fucking say, what are people doing online for this? Just, search that term. Oh, I'm pounding on the table. Search that term, Google it, as they say, and see what comes up. And you know what? There's a lot of cool stuff that'll happen out there, and it'll just give you a little different perspective. And you'll be spending more time in your head in a place where you want to be and stuff. So super important, guys. Really, really cool thing to do. Try it. Again, like anything new, it's going to take a few attempts for you to get more comfortable with it and stuff. And I mean, like I said, I set that timer for 10, 15 minutes, but sometimes I'm really in a good groove and I'm really into other stuff, and I'll hit repeat and I'll spend another 10, 15 minutes there. I don't like to break the flow if it's really good as well, right? So that's something that I try to be mindful of. And the same thing too, if I find I'm just like mindlessly, I've got 87 windows open and my phone, my computer is chugging along, then I've gone too far and I've strayed from what I was, the intent of the exercise was. So again, give it a whirl. If you have any questions on how to do that, drop me a line or send me an email. That's all I wanted to talk about on that, guys. Super cool, super important, powerful. Get better at using it. Like any skill, the more often you do it, the better you're going to get at it, and it'll be pretty impressive. Some of the stuff you're going to find and that kind of thing. So hit that up and see where it takes you guys. Listen, head over to iTunes, subscribe, leave us a 5-star review if you haven't already. And if you need to get a hold of me, kurthaas@gmail.com, and I'll talk to you guys later.